Katie, Germain, welcome back to the Free Trail Podcast. Good to see you both.
Thank you. I think it's our first time together. Oh, no, we did one in Chamonix together. But
right, yeah.
First podcast together.
Germain, yeah, we got to do an official long form interview with you eventually here on the show too. Katie's been on a few times, but yeah, I think the UTMB interview in 2023 was maybe the first and only time you've been on the platform, but you're one of my favorite athletes in the world. So maybe we'll start with you here. Obviously, we're going to be breaking some big news today on the program. But before we get to it, maybe just start by telling me what you guys are up to this winter. It seems like you're both having so much fun racing road 10Ks, cross country, ski mountaineering. Germain, I understand that as we're talking now, you had to bow out of the Puramenta this week, the legendary ski mountaineering race. So maybe just fill us in on how you've been occupying the winter months. Your Strava is very impressive.
Yeah, I guess in the winter we like to do a lot of different things. So yeah, we've been running mostly on roads or like flat dirt road because we live in the mountains, so it's hard to run somewhere else. And yes, a lot of ski mountaineering. Yeah, a bit of everything and a lot of nothing. So that's the mix.
But are you healthy? It seems like, yeah, you said on your Instagram that the black cat continues to follow you and that you hurt your ribs again, which was a unfortunate pattern dating back to UTMB 2024.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Actually last week at the start of the cross country French championship, I got a bit in the traffic. Those starts are super, I would say, energetic. So yeah, I got elbow kicked really hardly on my left flank, and I felt like something was wrong. But I still finished the race. I was in pain, but at the finish, I realized that I had this like really pain that I remember from last year. So I think I only like cracked the rib, which is not fractured. Last year I fractured 2 ribs in June, and this year I cracked 1 rib in March. So I'm still doing better, but yeah.
So you're making progress.
Waiting for the wheel to spin a little bit on my side.
Yeah. Well, good to get those little hiccups out of the way before the big race, Hardrock, coming up in July, which we're going to talk about. Katie, maybe you could provide a contribution here, a 10K PR for you in the spring, or I guess, yeah, in the winter months, and then a third at the French cross country championships, all while also spending a lot of times on skis. Maybe just talk a little bit about what you guys do in these winter months while still keeping the focus on the trail season ahead.
Yeah, I think from the outside, it might look like running on the road and like doing road races and like skimo races is really opposite, which it is, but it actually matches the type of training we can do at the moment, which is running on roads or skiing. And there isn't that much opportunity for activities in between. So yeah, in this, I guess it was the beginning of January when we did the 10K on the road. And then we just we both really like those kind of efforts, that like 30-minute effort, which is the same kind of effort you do in like a skimo vertical race. It's also around 30 minutes. So it's actually pretty similar kind of racing. And then we just kind of like kept the momentum going into the cross country season. And I was lucky this year. Germain was a bit more motivated than usual to do some of the cross country races. So I kind of rode on his wave of motivation too. I usually do at least one race each year, but it's not as fun to drive the 2 hours each way alone in the van and then do a 30-minute race and drive back. So having company is more fun. And then yeah, we always said we wanted to go to the French Championship because I'd seen, like, we usually watch the live stream every year and it just looks like so much fun. And every year we find a reason we can't go. And this year we both committed to going. And I would say I'm really happy. I had a really good experience. Unfortunately, it didn't go as well for Germain. I mean, the experience I think was fun, but the outcome was not ideal, clearly.
Yeah. Well, it's so fun to follow you both, and just like perusing through your Instagrams and Stravas, it just seems like you have such a unique and interesting model to the winter months that a lot of people could probably learn from. And it seems like you're both putting up big numbers and getting ready for what is going to be another exciting season of trail racing coming up. But obviously, before we get to that, we got to talk about the big news here today. And I got to say, it was a very well-kept secret given the gravity of this movement. You, of course, are going back to On, a brand that you represented previously. So before we talk about some of the details of the move and the consideration around it, maybe you could just remind people about your mutual histories with the brand. Germain, we can start with you.
Yeah, I think we joined On after CCC 2018. I think September 2018, and we stay at On for almost 4 years. So yeah, it was like the really beginning of the trail running at On. We were running with the first dedicated shoe to trail running, and it was like kind of an experience at the time, and it was not for sure the focus of the brand. It was the focus was more like triathlon and road running, and they were pushing on the track and field at that time. So they were targeting some Olympic cycle, and but we had fun, and we were in a position where we needed a brand to support us, and sure, like the products were important for us, but we had other places we needed to improve. And I guess at the end of the partnership at On, we were really looking for like another kind of product. And at the time, it was not there. And now it's there.
That's so cool. And I'm so glad to hear it. And as I talked to the people at On too, they were very honest about that too. And that a lot of the reason that you guys left to begin with was because the trail running specific product wasn't up to snuff. And we'll come around to talk about how that product has evolved. But Katie, I remember talking to you around that time too, where you were just expressing the fact that you and Germain are both obviously like mountain athletes, even though you raced 10Ks on the road and cross country, like you're mountain first athletes as skiers and runners. And you needed a partnership that sort of represented that outdoor ethos that you have. And On, of course, has so much momentum in the market right now, but it seems like they're specifically making big moves and big progress in that outdoor department. So maybe you could share a little bit about you being a mountain athlete and what gave you confidence that On was moving in the right direction in that category.
Yeah, I think where I kind of got confidence that this movement was in the right direction, and just seeing what On can provide in anything they want to pursue, is if you look at the track and field athletes and how quickly they created a spike and put a spike on Olympic podiums in a matter of a couple of years. And when you see a brand that can go from nothing to the very top of the sport in such a short amount of time, they can do it in another space as well. And I think obviously we weren't there. We were not there during this buildup of this learning phase. We have to thank the other On athletes who have been there the last couple of years for being part of that product development. But we see now that the wave is cresting, and we're like really excited about being there for this high point.
What is that special sauce there? I'd be curious, right? As you said, going from zero to having one of the best track spikes. They also have a great marathon super shoe. They've won a few of the world marathon majors, and that light spray shoe is just like one of the most beautiful products I've ever seen. What is it about the brand in your experience that's allowed them to make those massive development leaps in a short period of time? Because it has been pretty remarkable, right? Especially given, the size of the brand relative to the competition.
I can start. I think when they make a decision about something, it's all in, which is something I really respect and can relate to. There's no like half interest in something. I think maybe at the very beginning when we first joined in 2018, there was sort of a testing the waters in trail running, but now everything they do is 100%, and efficiency and just being 100% focused on an idea and following through.
Yeah. Germain, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think going to the headquarters in Zurich is an experience because you see how the company lives daily. There's a lot of people that are like employed, new employee like every day. There was a lot of turnover with a lot of new and young people working there. So they kind of keep the momentum with innovation, with this like turnover, always moving, like new ideas. There is a few person that stays for a longer time, like 5, 6, 7 years. And there is always these new waves of like young people coming with new ideas, coming from other brands and trying to bring something new on in terms of marketing and also like product development. It's always like innovation is always the heart of the people there.
And the innovation always is first focused on athletes. That's a big point that that I think we both really appreciate, that the innovation, the first step is always towards the athlete and making sure the athlete can perform. And then it trickles down to the rest of the product line.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about some of that innovation. Germain, you mentioned some employees that have been there for a long time. David Kilgore is one of them, who I believe is going to be your main go-between, your main point of contact. And I heard that there's a good story about him sending you the new On trail running super shoe for you guys to test as you were starting to evaluate the next step of your career. Germain, can you tell us a little bit about that story, testing the product, and then we'll move to Katie?
Yeah, actually, the project was like a main part of our decision because we already knew how work was working in a day-to-day relationship with athletes. It's really efficient, really Swiss, really like robust. But we needed to try the product, so we asked David to send some shoes, and the only shoe he had at the time was his shoe he already ran like 100K with, so he sent it to my parents because actually we don't deliver things at home because it's too complex. It's a small, tiny village, and things don't come up and don't arrive at the time, and sometimes are lost. So we have like a small family warehouse on the coast, and the shoes arrived at my parents, and my dad like sent me a WhatsApp text saying, "Okay, I got those On shoes." He was confused because he doesn't know like we were like talking with On, and he said, "But normally I always got like new shoes, and those one are overused, so that must be a mistake." So that was the fun fact.
Yeah, so to clarify, all three, me, Germain, and David all wear the same size shoe.
Yeah.
So this is why he could send us a single pair of dirty shoes.
Yeah.
And following that, normally Germain and I are like constantly talking about whatever, footwear, running, whatever. And we decided we wouldn't tell each other what we thought of the shoe until both of us had run in it to keep the feedback neutral.
I think I was the first to run with the shoe, and then Katie was about to run 2 days after, and she was always asking me, "Okay, so what did you think?" And I was like, "I won't tell you."
He would not tell.
It's a secret.
But I came back.
What a fantastic story. That's going to go down in On-brand lore, sending a single pair of shoes for both of you guys to test so that you could come to the conclusion that it was indeed the right next step for your career. Maybe, Katie, you could also just spend a little time sharing a little bit about building confidence with the product too. Obviously coming off just a monster season for you, having confidence in the product that you're going to be wearing, the thing that stands between you and the trail has got to be forefront in your mind as you begin to like set goals and do your training and all that stuff. So maybe you could just share a little bit about coming to build confidence in this shoe and, coming to really have the trust that this was the right next step for you in your career.
Yeah, I think we're both at the point where for sure the most important thing to our performance and like our life right now is the product. Other factors are always secondary. So just approaching, not even just racing, but in training, knowing that first that you're going to have the product that you need and that it's something that's going to operate in the way that you want. But I can't even, I don't even think I need to explain how important that is. It's our job every single day. It's something we're putting on every day. Especially now that the technology and innovation is getting more, let's say, precise with more development, it is becoming more important as finishing times are getting closer and performances are getting closer. So this was a huge consideration. We have this funny story, but it was a really it was a very big decision and thing to consider was what are we putting on our feet, and not just our feet, but clothing, backpacks, everything matters. And even if we don't feel that every single inline thing is perfect, we know that we're in discussions with people who are completely open to new ideas, to innovation, to really listening to exactly what we need and what the other athletes need too. And one caveat or one small side story is we watched this video of Jeff Colt at TRE presenting the shoes to a journalist or something. And Jeff is a very old friend of mine. I've known him since I was 19 and he had a carpeted van. So
Middlebury kids, come on.
Yeah. Shout out. But I really, hearing Jeff talk about the shoe, even though, I haven't spent as much time in the shoe as he has, but really hearing him talk about it, knowing he wasn't talking to me, trying to convince me, he was just talking to a journalist. I could hear in his description and see in what he was showing that this is something that I wanted to be part of, that would work not only for me, but for both of us, because we actually have pretty different running styles and different needs. And it's important that something works for both of us.
Yeah. It's so funny. I was chatting with, I've been chatting with a lot of pros in the sport right now, just about sponsorship and who's making the product that they can actually run fast in, because this whole phenomenon of super shoes, which has obviously been totally present in road racing for a long time, has really, I think, manifested in trail running to a degree we haven't seen, where, if you don't have the best product, you are at a disadvantage. So I think it's just important for, the audience to understand that I'm sure this is just a massive decision to make, where you have to deeply evaluate and trust these prototypes that you're being sent by David Kilgore, you guys sharing a single pair of shoes and developing enough confidence in that product that you could make such a, dramatic decision at this point in both of your careers. Germain, I'd love to hear from you on this too. You guys have both talked about how the innovation starts with the athlete. Katie mentioned it's not just the shoes, it's the apparel, it's the backpacks. And I sort of already presented this, but it seems like On is really getting serious about outdoor as a category. You guys being 4-season athletes, is there other stuff in the pipeline that you're working on currently or that you're excited about, whether it's apparel, packs, things you can use in the winter months, etc.?
On is definitely, in the short term, not going on the mountaineering side or like ski mountaineering or alpine side. They will make a fast hiking or hiking shoe, but they are not going in that, I would say, super technical alpine gear. Everything below glacier is okay, but above they are not going there right now. It's what we understood. So we will stick to trail running gear with them, and And yeah, we're happy to be part of the development. Nothing crazy, but just make the gear simple and efficient. Sometimes it sounds easy, but yeah, I think like brands are losing a lot of energy to do things in a complex way, but sometimes we just need the things to be simple and efficient, and that works the best.
Yeah. Well, great. A couple other things before we start talking about your season, things I'm just like personally curious about. Maybe Katie, we can start with you. Obviously, coming back to On is interesting because it's probably quadrupled in size since the time that you left a few years ago. It's just got so much growth momentum behind it. As you re-engage with the brand, is there anything that makes it clear, like the progress that the company has made in general?
Yeah, so this is actually not completely related, but I did my PhD in Zurich and On is in Zurich. So I was actually living in Zurich when we first joined. It was just a coincidence. So I did get to visit the office a few times at the very beginning, and it was literally just like one floor of an office building above a grocery store next to a tram stop. And every time I would go, they would say, "Oh yeah, that's the building we're building. Like, it should be ready in a year or two." And I remember, throughout our visits there, they're like, "Oh yeah, we already filled the whole building already." But we never saw this building. And just recently we were there, and the building was completely full. We had lunch there, and it's wild to see one floor of an office building like just pour into now two other large buildings, and the number of people there and the amount of like just more infrastructure, more organization. There's like a store now. They never had a store before. They just had like one wall when you walked in with like a few shoes on it. Now they've got Elmo repping the brand. I mean, things are just
come on. I mean, is that attractive to you, Germain? I mean, because to me, that it feels like that would be very exciting to go to Zurich to experience headquarters and feel that palpable growth momentum and energy that's present at the brand right now. That may have played into this decision itself too, right?
And honestly, the brands, I would say the brands became a little bit more funnier, and I like that. Like, with the new Elmo campaign, it's cool for me. I think sometimes they step a bit outside of their like communication guidelines, being like extremely serious. And I think I like some of the new campaign right now, the Soft Wins campaign, and makes a little bit more things lighted, and it's cool. Yeah, much better the train running sphere.
All right. So before we move off this, I'd love to just have you guys share a bit about going through this process together. I imagine it's comforting, but also maybe complicating, as you probably need to like work through details as a team. You mentioned about the prototype testing of the footwear, but maybe just bring us into some of the conversations that you guys had together as you were debating like what the best next step was for you. And I think also just maybe you could share a little bit about the philosophy of doing this together, because you could theoretically employ different sponsors for each of you, but it seems like you really intentionally want to maintain, partnerships with individual brands and, really operate as a team yourselves. Katie, we can start with you.
Yeah, I think the first thing is that we do really see ourselves as a team, and we have since the very beginning. And one of the first times we met, Germain asked me to do the Pyramenta Ete, which is the summer version of the Pyramenta ski race. He asked me to be his partner at this race. So like, I think our relationship started with like this team atmosphere. So since then, it's always been as a team. Germain's always like pulled me into. At the beginning, it was really Germain pulling me into what he had already established, and then from there, we were able to like build more together. Obviously, being a first language English speaker has like helped us like branch across the ocean as well, but also be present in Europe. So yeah, we've never like thought about not having the same main partner. It's never been something we considered. So, it makes sense for us not only, and I think it is also more powerful for the brand. We see more and more couples like in the same teams. Obviously, sometimes it doesn't work and there's people in different brands, but I think it's a really powerful move for a brand. It's powerful for us. It allows us to sometimes cover for each other, sometimes work together on stuff. And all around, I think it's worth any, I don't even think there's any negatives really, but I think it really brings something special for us. That's what I'll say about the team part.
Germain, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I guess. This year we had the choice to choose like an individual main partner, but we did not make that choice, and we prefer to have the same main partner for the reason Katie talked about. And I think all the work that we don't see every day, we don't work with an agent because right now we don't feel like we need to. So we are two to manage day-to-day sponsor things, and Katie is more working towards something, and maybe I work more on the backside of our company and our stuff, friends, whatever. So I think we have a good balance with that, and that works pretty smoothly and efficiency. So I think that's also a big part of why we are working with the same brands, because it saves us times, and everyone has his field, I would say. Yeah,
it also allows us to more or less serve as each other's representative when needed, and kind of be the sounding board when somebody needs a confidence boost or someone needs to be talked down. We can kind of be each other's voice of reason or hype man, whichever is needed. And I think it helps bring an outside perspective of someone who 100% understands the situation. You don't have to go find someone, explain the whole backstory. What do you think? You have someone in real time, which you probably also experience in your own daily life. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Germain, are you familiar with good cop, bad cop in the US here, where you guys were playing good cop, bad cop sometimes in this, where
not yet.
You guys could be
would like to hear about that. No.
It's one gendarme is nice and one is mean.
Okay.
It's a negotiation tactic.
Yeah. It also helps us because you are talking about negotiation, and so being together also helps us at negotiation, and I think works well that we can be each other agent or whatever sometimes.
Yeah. I was curious whether you guys had ever entertained the idea of working with an agent. And I think it is interesting, especially in this modern era of trail running, where that is becoming more and more the case, at least here in the US. And I think over in Europe too, there's more and more people acting as athlete representatives, that you two, operating at the pinnacle of the sport, chose to do it on your own rather than engage outside professional help. And I'm sure, there's pros and cons of going either direction, but it sounds like it all worked out for the best for you guys. So before we move to the season 2, I have to also give a shout out to TrailCon. Serge, you're wearing your t-shirt right now.
Yeah.
On is of course going to be the presenting sponsor of our trail running conference.
Maybe we should explain. It's funny though.
Yes. Yeah. Please do. So I'll set it up for you, because Katie, I think it was Katie that posted on your Instagram story or something, a photo of Germain wearing the t-shirt proudly. And I was like, I just don't get this. I don't get it. So Serge, why don't you explain what TrailCon means, why you wanted a t-shirt?
Yeah, because it was your event. So I was proud to have the t-shirt of TrailCon. And I don't know how to translate con.
It's idiot.
Yeah, because in French, con means idiot. So I was thinking that's a perfect t-shirt for me, because it's my sport and the Serge side. I was okay, I need this t-shirt. And it's actually a it's actually Doug Meyer who didn't know Doug. So I saw the T-shirt, but I didn't like do the move and buy it online. And then one day I received the T-shirt with with a letter from Doug Meyer, and he said, "I saw that. I think it's gonna be a good gift for you," and that was really funny.
And now it's his regular T-shirts. Like I think he has 2 or 3 T-shirts, and this is a regular of the rotation. So.
Oh, it makes me so happy. And how much better is it going to be when it has the On logo on it too?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Then you'll be on
the Trail Idiot. Put the On in TrailCon. So funny. All right, enough talk about that. But congratulations, guys. I really appreciate you sharing a bit about this big move, and I think it will come as a surprise to a lot of people. And so it's good to just be able to talk about it transparently so the sport can understand a little bit more about your guys' decision-making process. But the main goal of the year, you guys both got into Hardrock. So maybe give us a sense on how you're building towards the goal in July. Katie, we can start with you.
Oh man, I'm looking outside as it's like snowing and trying to get in trail running mood right now. Mid-July, that will be both of our biggest focuses for the year, which gives me a few more weeks than when I was focused on Western States. At this point, our next big date on the calendar is going to be in Madeira at the Mute. So I think most of our thoughts are there right now, actually, and getting that whole trip set up. But following the Mute, we will come back home for a few weeks and then hopefully head out towards Colorado mid-May, just to start getting at higher altitude. We don't have very high altitude in the Alps, and where we do, it's glaciated, so it's difficult to go trail running. We'll be heading that way, and then plans are actually like pretty loose right now because we're waiting to know what the snow will look like and where we'll want to go. But both the benefit of us both being professional athletes is that we don't have a set place we have to be, so we can kind of go with the flow and figure it out later.
Yeah. Germain, I understand that, I'm pretty sure this is going to be your first time ever racing in the US. Is that right?
No.
The Hardrock?
No, I raced the Speed Goat.
Okay.
Yeah. In
2019.
With On running Cloud Peak.
With the Cloud Peak.
Yeah.
And then you also did the Cirque Series.
Yeah, and I did the Cirque Series because we stayed in Utah, and the 2 of the races were in Alta Snowbird. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was really fun. And
that was with On.
Well, maybe give us a sense. I'd love to hear from you guys. I mean, obviously doing Hardrock is a bucket list thing for any trail runner and, certainly any professional trail runner. Germain, maybe you could share a little bit about, your history of thinking about the race, having, had built a lot of experience racing in Europe and certainly on big stages, like sort of what got you excited to jump into Hardrock this year.
Yeah, I'm excited. I would say the race scares me, because of the elevation. I have been a lot at elevation, but I was always moving super slow because I was skiing or mountaineering. Because in the Alps, it's like you're on like steep mountain and you're like with heavy gear. But I have never run at that elevation, so it's a big unknown for me. So I'm kind of scared and excited about that. On top of like visiting a super great area, I just like everything's gonna change. The pace, the nutrition, the hydration. There's a lot of work to do, and that's cool.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. I'm glad you guys are coming out early. Katie, doesn't Germain have like an infatuation with American culture though? Like I saw the post he put up where he's wearing he's waving the American flag. He's got sort of like a Captain America speed suit that you guys wore to the Tour de France, I think it was. Can you embarrass Germain a little bit about being Captain America?
His soul is not French. He's yeah, he should have been born in the US. I think he operates well in the US. And I mean, you haven't spent a ton. No, I guess we were there a few years ago, but yeah, I think he has a good time there. And he's someone who's, you can tell, is pretty like lighthearted and likes to make jokes. And has a pretty positive outlook on things, which typically works well in the US. I hope it's still like that this year when we go. Yeah. But no, he's taken over one of my old Skimo suits. That's the Captain America suit. And then the post with the flag was a cryptic post that he did thinking everyone would understand he was announcing he was going to Hardrock, which nobody understood. I don't know if you understand. The caption was like a picture of a rock. I don't
know. I actually enjoy doing posts where like 2% understands it, you know. I really like doing like those kind of things where like if you're in like a super close sphere, you understand, and otherwise you don't.
Yeah.
But like the general public has no idea. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was his Hardrock.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's going to be so fun to have you both at Hardrock this year. And yeah, obviously there's a great history at the race, and I'm sure you guys will really enjoy your first time getting to experience it. And Germain will certainly really enjoy having you specifically. And we should share with the audience that you texted me the day after the Hardrock lottery, basically saying, "Hey, Debo, could you potentially pace me?" And immediately I was like, "Holy shit, I got to get in shape." So, Germain, am I going to have to? Am I walking through the night with you or what?
Yeah. I think yeah. I need you for the last part.
It would be your first pacer ever.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. You have to come up with some good jokes.
Yeah.
I don't
training started yesterday for me, buddy, so I'm fully committed. This is the biggest athletic objective of my season, guys, is pacing Germain at Hardrock.
Yeah.
So I won't let you down, buddy. I won't let you down.
Yeah. Take yours, never second chance. Yeah, cool.
Exactly. Katie, I remember you telling me, last year, I think it was, that you guys had intentionally sort of made the decision to stop doing the same races. And it sounds like you're both doing Madeira, you're both doing Hardrock. So did something change so you could better manage support systems, or did you come up with a new system that allowed you guys to start competing in the same events together again?
Yeah, I think this is a good question to ask me because it's more on me to deal with this issue. I think in the past we had a lot of trouble for a number of reasons. One being that we didn't have that much experience around ultra races. So there's always a lot of questions and a lot of uncertainty and more chaos before the race. And so when we were doubling that, it was becoming very overwhelming. We also are resource limited in France because a lot of the people that we lean on are like the same people. So that was on me to find some of my own people, since most of the people I was leaning on were more French or like more on Germain's side. I mean, still my friends, but yes, French. And then the other thing is that, like, in the past, the way I was dealing with like pre-race stress, anxiety, all the buildup of racing, I was putting a lot of that on Germain. So he was starting every race with his own normal pre-race excitement, let's call it, plus my problems, not problems, but let's say my own excitement. So he was starting with like double the burden, and I was feeling okay because I was able to put it all on him. So now I've found my own resources, and I think I have a much better approach to racing than I did, let's say, in 2019, 2021. And I think that's helped a lot. We can ask Germain for his review, how that went this year, because we did both do UTMB. But I think in general, we've both gotten into our own rhythms and our own routines, and that's not necessarily the same thing. And we both respect what the other person needs. And I think I needed to do a little bit more work than Charles did. And I think I've done that in the last few years, hopefully.
Yeah.
Germain, has Katie gotten better at managing her pre-race anxiety? You can be the objective truth teller here.
Yeah. No, she did a lot of work. I remember, I think we reached like a non-return point at some point where I said, okay, now it's not possible anymore. I think she was just like waiting for the last 2 days or 3 days to just because she was trying to escape the stress. So she was like, okay, I'm not going to kind of plan what I eat. I'm not going to plan who's going to crew me. And then 2 days before, I was like, oh, by the way. So we will end up in those situations, but now it's way better. And yeah, she did a lot of work about that. And that leads to where she did those amazing seasons. So that's such a great improvement. So that's also the work we don't see on Strava, for example, all those work that are super important as a professional athlete. So no, that's such a great improvement. And I would say for this year, I would say Western States and UTMB are on another level of solicitation, media buzzing, whatever. And Madeira and Hardrock are a little bit more low key, so it's easier to manage to race the same races. I would say. Yeah,
and we're being a bit more proactive about asking for help and support ahead of time. From, for example, my family was wonderful before Western States this year. I had my dad and sister just managing me, basically being my nanny for the week before. So, Germain knows who he needs to ask for help. So I think we're just, we are able to anticipate things better now.
So Katie, will your family come to Hardrock too?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, my sister lives in Denver, so she'll definitely be there. And my dad and I'm assuming, both my parents will be there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, proactivity before Hardrock was definitely exemplified by Germain. He texted me literally the day after the Hardrock lottery. So who's going to be going through the night with you, Katie? Can you reveal who your dream team of Pacers are?
Germain just gave me such a great review about being really on top of things ahead of time. And now I have no answer for you. I have a short list. I think I need to start.
I'm sure
typing texts.
Yeah, you will have no shortage of very competent and capable people who I'm sure would be honored to shepherd you through the San Juans. But you're both going to On, you're both going to Madeira, you're both going to Hardrock. It really is. There's team spirit in how you guys approach the sport. You model, I think, a really great way of just being professional athletes in trail running. I appreciate you giving us a glimpse into this move, the consideration behind it. I wish you guys nothing but the best, and I can't wait to see you in Silverton.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Great. In Green Street.